Yeah. First of all, good morning, everyone. One thing is, please excuse my appearance today. As people were discussing, I'm in between moves, so I don't even know whether my shaving set is in the refrigerator, whether my combs are in the microwave oven. So I tried to find them, but I couldn't. So please excuse my appearance. But I think that kind of summarizes the session that we are going to have today, because we are going to have this session with a person who is so close to us that there is no pretension, there is no formality, and we are here just to have a heart to heart conversation with our very own Sourabh. So K Talks has been a series where we have, over the past some 8, 9 months, we have talked to some distinguished people from different spheres of expertise. We have covered from the arena of art, Jogen Choudhury, the famous artist, from adventure sports, mountaineer Piali Boshak, scientist Momita Dotto, ISRO scientist Momita Dotto. From spiritual world, we have talked to Jibon Bandopadhyay, a professor from Ramakrishna Mission Narendrapur, on Shami Vivekananda's life and teaching. And of course, we have also talked from the arena of sports, Koeli Mitter Dalmia, who is involved with the Olympic sports of shooting. Today's session, which happens to be the last but definitely not the least, session where we are talking to someone from the business world, and it fills my heart with so much pleasure that we are actually having Sourabh with us to talk about uh, business, his journey in this country, and before that, and of course, how his experience has been as an entrepreneur. So, without any more introduction, I welcome you, Shauravda. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shantam.
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Borough Cultural Association, Borough Shikala, for I'm honored that you all invited me to speak to me about my journey and my experience. And like Shantan, you said, it's going to be a very frank conversation amongst friends and people who respect each other and peers. And it's going to be a Bengali conversation. And at the end of the day, that's what brings us together. It's our Bangaliana, right? So it'll be a very Bengali conversation, and I'm looking forward to this.
I can clearly see Alex is trying to hide her chuckle as much as she can.
Yes, yeah.
You can. No, so now coming into this so short of the for the general audience here, and I'm sure many people will gradually join in also. So, for the people here, why don't we just start with your current position, what you are doing? And I know I have the introduction. I could probably talk from there, but I would rather have you take us through your current position, what you are doing, and then we will talk about your journey overall in this country.
Sure. So currently, I serve as the co-founder and chief executive officer of Spaces USA, and Spaces is a mobile platform. It's a mobile access platform, a mobile payment platform geared towards the parking industry, both gated and valet. And what we are doing is transforming hardware as a service for the parking industry to software as a service for the parking industry, and making products and building platforms that are, very rich in AI, PI, ML, which is artificial intelligence, predictive intelligence, and machine learning. And so, we are also changing the landscape of the payment industry, and we are making the payment processes all basically cloud based. No longer, just swap your credit card. You just put your credit card in once, and it will transform the payment. And we are simplifying the whole landscape of parking. As you can understand, parking is a painful procedure, right? When you go park your car, it's expensive. First of all, it's very, very expensive. You always feel like, why am I paying so much for parking? But parking is when you think about parking, I got into the parking business because um, parking, if you think about it, is a privately financed utility. And we will talk more about my background. I got in this business because I saw an opportunity of transforming the entire sector, and that was of quite interest to me. So that's why I got into the parking industry and in the technology format, and now really switching from HaaS to a SaaS model.
Okay, very interesting. And now, probably the first question that comes to my mind is Indians, and why Indians? Just people from the subcontinent when they come to this country, right? They usually come to study, or they come here because their companies that they were working for back in the country, they send them on the job. That is kind of the profile. I do not want to stereotype, but going by the population that come from India here, that is the kind of profile that we see among Indians. So, and your profile currently, what you are doing, that actually significantly is different from that general populace, right? So what happened? I mean, so why can't you, if it's possible, so why don't you just take us through uh, the journey that you experienced while coming here? How did you come here, and how suddenly you changed? I don't know. I mean, of course. So I will wait for you to answer to that. How is your profile so different from the typical Indian profile that we see in this country?
That's a great question. That's a loaded question. Um, first and foremost, I'm a very proud Bengali. I feel very proud that I'm a Bengali, you know, and our culture is rich, our heritage is rich. And, there are people who tell me there are not many Bengalis in business. That's not true. Bengalis are very, very entrepreneurial, you know. Um, but the thing with Bengalis are we are straight arrow people, you know. We are not people that like to bend the law, or we are very straight arrow. And sometimes that's seen as a negative, but it's not. It's like, the business world out there that I operate in today is eat lunch or be lunch, that kind of situation, right? But my journey about coming to America started probably, I think my first brush with America was when I was in class 4, and for Parents Day, I was chose to recite this poem called "O Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman. So that was my first brush with America. And then I would say when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I used to love to see MacGyver, you know? And as it so happens, MacGyver is from Minnesota, and the school MacGyver went to is the same school my wife, Allison, went to, So don't know where I met him. I'm just saying a small connection. But I will tell you a few things that I believe in it. I never planned to be here in my life. I had hoped, but I didn't plan it. And in many ways, when I look at my life, I feel like I'm watching a cinema of my own life. So that's how little control that I feel I have over my life, right? I think um, my mother was a big force in me coming to the US. And yes, I like the American ethos, I like the American lifestyle and the American opportunity. America is a land of opportunity. Here, you can put your mind to anything you want to do. And if you pursue it hard enough, you will achieve it. And America gave me a level playing field. And that's really what helped me kind of launch my dreams. When I was a kid, you know, um, I grew up in Chandanagar, and Shayantan also grew in Chandanagar. And Chandanagar is like a mofussil town. We didn't grow up in Kolkata. Kolkata was a dream. Park Street, Newmarket, Trinkas. But we grew up in Chandanagar, right? And, I grew up in a pretty conservative family. Ma teacher, Baba doctor, very much in our philosophy, porashona kore je, gari ghora chore she, right? And that's the ethos of a Bengali family. Porashona koreche, gari ghoda choreshe. So I grew up very academically focused because of my ma's Kangani, Porishkar Kotha, right? And then, throughout my life, I've been very fortunate that Thakur has put the right people in my life. And the second person was my teacher in Don Bosco, Ratna Haldar, who's my English teacher, who relentlessly backed me, you know. And, I was, from a very young age, I was told I was a dreamer. My eyes are bigger than the stomach. And because I was not the first, second, or third boy in class, I was a proverbial underdog. And that always kind of was okay with me, you know. Maybe because I was the only child growing up. My friends were my brothers, and still today I have relationships with people who I have known since kindergarten. Many of them, like not hundreds, but 3 or 4 of them. So I would say to you, when I finished my bachelor's degree in life sciences from Hooghly Motion College, I was quite fortunate to be able to come here on a scholarship and work study. And I came here to do my postgrad work on biotechnology. And my mother said, Jidak, we will buy you a one-way ticket, but you have to go and pay for yourself your own way. So again, I was not the smartest guy in the class. So I got about an 80% scholarship and 20% work study. And I started my career at Marriott Corporation as the dishwasher and night janitor. And I gotta tell you, the first 3-4 years was terrible. I hated it. In the words of my mother, I'll tell you a small story about my mother here in 2005. And we are going back. I'm going back to drop her. And we are sitting in the first class cabin in the Dreamliner on the top deck. And I'm looking at my mother thinking like, did you ever think your son would be this successful? And I'm very proud. So I asked my mother, Tomar kemon laglo deshta? She was here for 6 months. She said, she was a Dhakaya Mohila from Dhaka. She said, Joghunya. I was shocked. Joghunya, for people who don't speak Bangla, means horrible, right? And I said, why? With a curious look in my face. She said, দেখো, তোমাদের এখানে জুতো সেলাই থেকে চণ্ডী পাঠ সব নিজেকেই করতে হয়। I don't care how big of an executive you are, সব কিছু তোমাদের নিজেকেই করতে হয়। প্লাস এখানে গল্প করার কোনো লোক নেই। And my first 3 years of America really summated that. গল্প করার লোক নেই, I was the only Indian in Montana. And then, and coming from the family setup that we all had, lokjon, chakor bakor, bodied help, that was all gone. And I felt very lonely here, and I didn't fit in at all, and I didn't like it at all. And the goal was never to come stay here. The goal was here to get my MS and go back to India, right? But my mother said, যতক্ষণ না পর্যন্ত নিজের পায়ে দাঁড়াবে, you're not welcome in my house. So পায়ে দাঁড়াবে, what does that mean, পায়ে দাঁড়াবে? So it kind of bestowed a sense in my own that I have to be successful. And then what is success? I think success to me has been always about the journey that you're traveling in. When I was a very young boy, I remember a sadhu came to our house, and he said, with a very pious man, he said, "Je Baba, Thakur তোমাকে এখানে কেন এনেছে?" So I said, "To have fun." And my mom and Baba were so upset. She একদম মানে গাধা ছেলে গুরুজির সামনে to have fun. But I always have had fun doing what I was doing. And I think that being an entrepreneur, that is the biggest thing, that I can do what I want to do. I can create what I want to create. I I choose who I want to work with. I choose who I don't want to work with, you know. And it's about independence. It's about the independence. And I think that I came here to do my MS in biotech. And as I was saying to you, I was a dishwasher and night janitor for Marriott. Marriott had the concession for my university's food service. And my life has been a series of divine consequences, just happenstances. And I really believe that life is divine. You know, do good, be honest, contribute to your ecosystem, because if you want to be big, you need ecosystem. So just give, just give, just give. Don't be a dhandabaj. Dhandabajra boro hote pare na. Be true, be honest. Understand what you're good at. Don't try to be good at everything. Be good at one thing. You can find people to surround yourself with, but those people wouldn't come to you unless they realize you are sincere, you're authentic. So it's about yourself. It's about how you manage your inner self. And then there lies the spirituality of the part of entrepreneurship. Be true to yourself and be true to your tribe. And what I have learned is this: it's all about the people that you walk the journey with. And I have been asked this question: is it about the journey or is it about reaching the goal? Well, for your investors, their private equity, their banks, their family offices, it's about you reaching the goal. But for you, it's the journey. Because if you're not having fun in this journey, you will never reach your goal. It never happens that way. It's cobbled together. So how much fun you're having will dictate how much success you have. It's not a job, you're building something. So by happenstance, I got discovered by this gentleman named Ersun Ozer, who was a managing director for Marriott. Ersun managed the Northwestern zone for Marriott. And, he saw me one night working late because I had nothing to do. I had no money in my pocket. And he said, why don't you apply for, you have a bachelor's degree already. Why don't you apply for the Marriott Management Services program? And that was a 2-year program, very European MBA style, 1 year academic, 1 year on the field. But the thing is that then you get a visa, that leads to a green card. And I was on an F1 visa here, so that was attractive to me. So I didn't tell my parents that I have given, not in the track of biotech anymore, that I'm in business, because they would be very disappointed. So I went to work for Marriott Management Services, and that's where I saw all these, what we call in Chandanagar, suited booted look, with nice cars, bhalo bhalo suit, bhalo bhalo boot, nice restaurants. I said, Baba, era ki kore? I asked a colleague, era ki kore? Ki era? So then this gentleman said, don't worry about it. It's not for you. They're Wall Street bankers. So I thought, mone bashona jegেছে আমার যে আমি Wall Street banker হব. Right? So what does one do when mone bashona jage? I moved to New York City. I quit. I resigned my job from Marriott, and I came to New York City. And I applied to, I think, 12 jobs. And people say, wow, 12 jobs. I say, yeah. When I was trying to come to the US, I applied to 38 universities. And 3 gave me some sort of scholarship. And 1 gave me 80% scholarship, 20% work study. So in many ways, life is a law of averages. কষ্ট না করলে কেষ্ট মিলবে না, কষ্ট করতে হবে। The hard work has to be there, but the smart work also has to kick in. The coolie in Hara station right now at 1 in the morning, or whatever time it is in India right now, 9 in the evening, right? He's working hard. The rickshawala in Chandanagar who is working right now, he is working hard. But you got to work smart. And what I have learned from my journey in corporate America and the entrepreneurship world is that, look, believe in yourself. When I joined Wall Street as a sell-side banker and I went to work for a very white shoe firm called First Investors, started in 1927. I was the only Indian or brown sell-side banker in the company. And I'm pretty sure, looking back at that they hired me to fill that quota. Because years later in my career, my colleagues told me, hey, you know what? We all bet on you that you wouldn't last 6 months. Because, I didn't have that pedigree, right? I was not, in 1994, the Wall Street I joined was very white and was dominated by the Italians and the Irish. Indians were on the buy side of the house, not on the sell side of the house. But again, when I think back to those days, what made me successful is my authenticity. And I think I got my authenticity from growing up in Chandanagar. It is all about your roots. So it's important that wherever you are, you grow roots. It is about community. Don't think about yourself. Think about others. How can you give? How can you contribute? And so these kind of fundamentals that I grew up with has largely helped me to be where I am today. I don't know if I'm successful. I don't know if I'm not successful. I will tell you this, though. I have failed more than I've succeeded. But those failures have taught me so much more than my successes. When you're successful, you have not gotten the ringing, and look, I mean, I came to Wall Street as a complete, novice. I was very fortunate to do well. And I could do well because I was able to build relationships with my clients. And as a sell-side banker, what I realized is that I would meet with clients and they would tell me, I have blood pressure, I have blood sugar, I have this, I have that. And the same person he asked, Shayantan, how much money do you have in your checking account today? Rajdeep, how much money do you have in mutual funds today? Huh? And the person, the conversation, somebody sucks the air out of the room, right? So how do you have that conversation? Making somebody write a check was the hardest thing. But then once they realize that you are not there for the check, you are there to help them, the conversation changes. So it's just being authentic. It's being yourself. And it's not what people think. And they tell you that, you will fail here, that'll be very difficult there. অন্যের মুখে ঝাল খেও না। অন্যের মুখে ঝাল খেও না। And believe in very individualistic relationships, not pluralistic. আজকে person X এর সঙ্গে person Y এর কি সম্পর্ক, that doesn't bother me at all. And these little things, when you join the dots together, will help one like me, who's a dreamer, whose eyes are bigger than the stomach, who's an underdog, reach a certain level of professional excellence. And what I am very fortunate about is that throughout my life, I have gotten to work with some really talented, smart individuals, much smarter than I am, much more accomplished than I am, you know, and that has been a lot of fun, you know. Wall Street was great, you know. Thank God I was very successful. At 28, I went on to run First Investors as the executive vice president. So I ran a reinsurance business, insurance business, asset management business, bank, and cross-border management business. That gave me a 360 of how Wall Street works. And I learned one thing: Wall Street is the house. The house always wins. But it also taught me the inner workings of finance, not coming from a hardcore financial background. You know, you say finance, people think, oh, did you go to Wharton? I did not go to any Whartons. I went to Don Bosco, went to Hoop Motion College after that. So you don't have to go to Wharton to be where to operate in the top 1% of the business elite. It's sheer drive. It's believing in yourself. Take advice. লোকে জিজ্ঞেস করো, হ্যাঁ শান্তন, এখান থেকে আমি ওখানে যাবো, কি লোকের মতামত দাও, but make sure that you surround yourself with smart people who believe in you, who have your back, who believe in you even when you lost faith in yourself. But you would need that helping hand. You would need that ecosystem, because every dream needs a team. You alone, the journey of entrepreneurship or journey of corporate America, you have to be able to bring people along, whether they're investors, whether they are your employees, whether they are your well-wishers. They have to buy into your dream, buy into your vision. And they will, if you're authentic. They will, if you're honest. They will, if you're hardworking. You have to set the bar. And then, once you have set the bar, believe me, believe in yourself, and they will come. They always do. However, if you are not authentic, if you're just a spielmaster, a spin doctor, and there are a lot of those in New York City. I'm sure we all know them. They're all over the world. Why New York City? You know. So stay away from them and just believe in your path, believe in your journey. Just that has been the constant mantra that I have always followed. So I was in Wall Street from 1994, 2007, and by 2007, things were looking really rosy, and I'd survived the crash of 99, 2003 bond market crash, and I thought, it's time to probably get out. But the other reason is, behind me become entrepreneur, is very, very personal, and because this is Korok and you guys treat me as family, I'll tell you the honest truth behind my story of being entrepreneur. And it was not some glorified thing, nothing at all. It was very personal in the sense that my father had passed 2001. My mom suffered a stroke in 2003. And I felt myself going back and forth between New York and Kolkata and Chandanagar, 6-7 times a year, and it was becoming difficult for me to run a big financial institution and spending that much time in India, and taking care of my mother. And because, like I said, I grew up in a very middle-class, ordinary family, only child of my parents, it was not unusual that I would fly back to take care of my mother, Those were the ethos that I was raised with, And that's very important. the family values are very, very important to your success. And for all the children who are listening here, it's all about family. And it's about friends, you know. As the only child of my parents, my family are my friends. But make sure you curate your friends, though. Be very picky and very choosy. Just don't let anybody in, you know. You have to pick who you associate yourself with, because birds of the same feather flock together. And your friends will define you. People will see. New York City being one of the biggest cities in the world, you know, the degree of separation is literally 1 to 2 people. I might not know somebody, but I can make 2 phone calls to get to that somebody. So it's a small town. And as you grow big, everybody will know your business, you know? So look, be honest, play it right, you know, make sure you're doing good in the world. That's always important. Doing good, because it's about feeding that ecosystem. What I have learned in life is very simple. The more good you do, the more good will happen to you. And the more bad you do, more bad will happen to you as well. Life is very karmic that way, you know? So it was my quest to be by my mother's side that drove me to be an entrepreneur. And the India I left in 91 was a very different India that I was finding myself in 2006, 2007. The India I left in was complete chaos in 91. Rajiv Gandhi had just gotten assassinated that summer. The Reserve Bank, I applied for $2,000 for my, you know, whatever, foreign currency. I got $170, right? The country was in complete shambles. And, you know, so when I left in 91, the country I left and the country I came back to in 2006, 2007 was very different. And, you know, I mean, I had, I guess, made some name and fame here in the US, in Wall Street. So I knew some big movers and shakers in the business world and in government. And at that point of time, you know, I had the opportunity to meet a few Bangalis, and you would know their name in Bengal, in our home state of Bengal, our Mukhyamantri, Buddha Bhattacharya, in Delhi, Priyanjan Dashmunshi, and Pranab Mukherjee. And between my business discussions and my discussions with the people who were talking about ushering a new India, you know, I was quite excited. And I thought, you know, why not go do something in India? I can spend more time with Ma. You know, I had got enough out of Wall Street. Wall Street got enough out of me, you know. And so I cashed out my chips in 2007 and went to India and looked at everything, you know, telecom, roads, ports, you know, highways, F1 circuits, F1 teams, IPL, you know, and I didn't believe that I could make money the honest way. And that's the truth. Here, as a non-resident or a green card, I was a green card holder then, now I'm an American citizen. The level of corporate compliance that we all have in India simply doesn't exist. Look, in business, there is white and there's black, and there is amount of gray in every sector. The amount of gray area in this country is this much. The amount of gray area in India is this much. And I quite couldn't bring myself to get comfortable with that much gray area. And so I kind of said, I sat out and I came back to the US. And then, as luck would have it, I was traveling back from visiting my wife, Allison. Then we were not married. And I was in a Sun Country Airlines flight, 3A, and the gentleman sitting right next to me, Jigar Shah, 3B. We struck a conversation. And he said, I'm the king of solar. My name is Jigar Shah. I have built this company called Sun Edison. I checked it out. I mean, this guy was in NPR. I mean, famous filmmakers were making movies about him. Richard Branson was on a speed dial. So he said, well, you understand how to operate in India. You understand money and finance and banking. I understand solar. Let's join hands and bring large-scale solar to India. So that was my first brush with entrepreneurship. And I liked that because there was no playbook for utility scale, distributed generation, independent power product producer. It has not been done before in India. The largest solar plant in India in 2008, when I went there, was 746 kilowatts. So I was excited. I thought, how hard could this be? You buy land, you erect the solar panels on a stilt, you figure out the access, connect to the grid, voila. Right? It was not that at all. It was much more difficult than that. But again, if you believe in yourself and if you believe with something with enthusiasm, you can always achieve, because people will come into your life. You'll be able to, Thakur will put the right people in front of you. Bhagavan will put the right people in front of you. The good Lord will put the people in front of you. But you got to believe that. You got to believe that. Let's get started. People, I see people, they have these fantastic plans, but it all remains in their desk in that plan. They don't take the first step and the second step and third step. And you have to get comfortable walking the journey alone. You have to. But it's all about action. If you have no action, there will be no reaction. Right? So you have to be the propeller. You have to be the engine before you expect somebody else to come join you and make things happen for you, whether it's in your corporate job or whether it's you're building a company. So yeah, I went to India and I started beating the drum that we need distributed generation. And India was perfect because we have the best weather, the highest solar irradiation after sub-Saharan Africa, right? In Rajasthan, in Gujarat, parts of Bengal. We're a sunny nation. And we are also a nation that's needs energy. So I thought this would be very easy because it's like, who wouldn't see this, right? I mean, we are an energy-hungry country. This is clean energy, world-class American technology, world-class American corporate practices. It's all win-win. Unfortunately, it was not that simple. Why? Because I got to know in 2008, 2009, that the US and India were talking about an Indo-US nuclear deal. And for that reason, the Americans nor the Indians with that too much interest in a large-scale solar deal. And what I was pushing for is a large-scale solar deal. I was not pushing for a 10-megawatt contract or a 50-megawatt contract. I was pushing for a scale. I was pushing for a 25,000 megawatt solar mission. And that happened. That happened 2 years later. And that's where I learned that you have to be relentless in the pursuit of your dreams. You cannot give up. But you also got to be consultative. And I remember I got much boost from an evening in London with our late Chief Minister, Buddha Bhattacharya, when I told him, sir, I don't know if you know that New Delhi and Washington are talking about a nuclear deal. Buddha Bhattacharya was a great man and he smoked more cigarettes than I don't know anybody who smokes, right? তো সিগারেট আমরা বললো কখনো হবে না, And if you look in the history books, they withdrew support from the UPA government. And that's when kind of people said, oh, wait, you know. And Pranab Mukherjee, another Bengali, was very much a strong proponent. Priyo Dashmunshi, another Bengali. We had Obijit Sen, Pranab Sen in the Planning Commission, who I worked very closely with. Because for me, it was always about creating a win-win. And people say to me, did you become a solar entrepreneur and brought utility-scale solar plants because you wanted to make India green? And I said, no. And I remember that being asked that question in the World Economic Forum. That did you, Sourabh Sen, bring solar, utility-scale solar policy and plants and build the first plants and went on to build many plants in the Middle East and Africa because you wanted to make India green? And I said, absolutely not. And my friend said, hi, Sourabh, mane, tor moton to boka lok, there is not a second idiot like you in this planet. You did not get into the green economy wagon, ki korchish? And my compulsions and my drivers were very different from that. Remember, it was 2008. I had started a new venture, put all my money in that venture. And then 2008 happened. The bottom fell out. And that had reverberations throughout the global economy. Raising capital for a large-scale project became impossible unless you could give investors something so concrete that they would put their money in. And my years in Wall Street had taught me to build something so concrete. What was concrete? I could tell investors, listen, land cost for this is this per acre. Construction cost is this. Total project cost is this. We will make this much money per day, per month, per quarter, per year. And I could show them for the next 25 years a financial cash flow. And that was the beauty about the solar business. If you knew where you were building your plant, you knew your solar radiation, you could calculate 3% plus minus the next 25 years of cash flow and earnings. And so, no, my friends, it was not the green revolution I was chasing after. Yes, I did want to bring power to India. I did want to bring energy, green energy to India, but I could not have done it if green energy and solar did not afford me those financial principles. So, lesson here is what? Lesson here is that everything you do must be very, very well rooted in its financial acumen and financial return aspect. Investors, they want one thing, returns. And the bigger you grow, the more money you would need. As Jack Welch said to me once, in life, you cannot buy Manhattan property or beachside property for Harlem prices. So you want to build something big, you want to build something that's great, you would need capital. So whatever business that you do must be well rooted, that it makes financial sense for the investor to say an easy yes. And the benchmark is very simple. Ask yourself, think of your closest friends and family and say, if I go to Shayonton today, or if I go to Shahidi today, if I go to Rajdeep today, if I go to Shomo today, if I go to Shomishta today, and I said, this is my business plan, am I comfortable in them writing a check based on my business plan? Karan, these are people near and dear. That's your gut check, how good your financial plan is. Is your financial plan to take in money from your closest people? Because if you lose, that'll be a big hurt. It's a hard and hurtful event. So make sure that whatever you're embarking on, I know that being entrepreneur lately has become very fashionable, very sexy, very, oh wow, entrepreneur, it's a tough road. It's a tough road. And it's a lonely road sometimes. And you have to be okay with that. It will be tough because if you do what I do, I take the path not least traveled, never traveled. When I brought solar power, there was no utility scale solar power, and it was very giving because you could see the transformation, that what that energy brought to the local economy. But then that all kind of came to an horrible crash in 2015, 2016. And I lost it all. And not only did I lose it all, I went from, let's say, a net worth of $100 to a net worth of negative $20. And that was the gut punch that I had not prepared for. And this is where I learned the importance of walking the journey with the right people. Many, 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 many people pulled me back up. They were there for me with their helping hand. Unconditional support. Unconditional support. And all of you must build that. You got to think, if I have nothing tomorrow, not only nothing, I mean, I'd say I had $100 and now I'm negative $20. And we had small babies. And what happened is there's a new government came in, and we had 25-year power purchase agreement with the sovereign nation of India. And the new government just said, well, we're going to nationalize everything. And we went from making 17 rupees, 96 paisa, to under the new regime, 7 rupees, take it or leave it. So the entire financial economics that is built on 25 years collapsed. At the same time, the rupee dollar went from 40 to 60. And we were making money in rupees. So it was a learning lesson that even, you might have sovereign credit with the government of India, but it ain't like the US. And that's my faith in the United States of America. What little I've achieved is for this country. It's for a foundation that I built in India, in Bengal, in Chandannagar, and Chinsura, and Bandel. That's what my foundation was built, in Bengal. And like I said, I'm a very proud Bengali. And Bengalis are achievers. Amra Bengalira khub jiddi. And that is a good thing. That is a very, very good thing. Because you need that fire in your belly. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe in yourself. So Atmavishwas is very, very important. And, you have to have good judgment. And, I love this saying that Warren Buffett said. He said, much of what you become in life depends whom you choose to admire and copy. Find somebody that you admire and emulate them. But discipline is very, very important. It's a lifelong journey, and it is about the journey. But as an entrepreneur, what I love about is I'm learning every day. I get to choose to call subject matter experts and say, hey, I'm doing this. Can we have dinner? And can you teach me what you have learned the last 30 years? It's not important that you have to walk every road. it's important that we have the connectivity, the network, because as a mentor of mine told me many years ago, your network will determine your net worth. Your network will determine your net worth. Be very, very, very careful about one thing: time. Because whether we realize that or not, that's the commodity that is going away. And you can't get back the time that you're living and you're spending, right? So spend that time very wisely. Spend that time with people that nourishes your inner spirit, nourishes your intelligence, your intellect, nourishes your spirituality, sense of purpose, sense of community, sense of friendship, sense of familyhood. It's all about the people you're walking the journey with. And dream big. And don't care about what the world says. Look, I have many people who work for me, who's worked for me from the top schools, all the Ivy Leagues, right? So Ivy League education is good, but it's not only about the education, it's what you do with that education. And when you are at my stage of the game, nobody asked me what school you went to, কত তুমি ফার্স্ট ডিভিশনে পাস করেছিলে না সেকেন্ড ডিভিশনে পাস করেছিলে বাবা, তুমি কি ম্যাথে এ পেয়েছো না সি পেয়েছো? না, because people will know you by your body of work. And the last point I'll make is find mentors. Find mentors. I am sitting here in front of you because of two reasons. Of course, my family, my ma, baba, my teachers, my Chandanagar community. But then, today, where I am is because of my wife, Allison, who's my partner, and we build businesses together. And we are a husband-wife duo. We are both entrepreneurs. And people are like, wow, you have 4 kids and you're both entrepreneurs. Isn't that risky? Yeah, it is very risky. What I do is very risky because there is no playbook. But again, whatever I do is grounded in strong financial sense. The numbers always work. The reason I'm in parking is parking also is a utility business. It's a privately financed utility, without which no urban center can exist. It's like, it's very similar to sanitation. Imagine if New York City didn't have sanitation for a week. It would be chaos. But one thing I learned out of my failures and successes throughout my life is build a business that generates money for you 24/7. And when I think about a business that generates money for you 24/7, the first thing I think about is oil wells, right? Oil wells are always pumping oil. So what I do, my one is a technology business, but is a technology oil well of parking. Because people are parking now while I'm speaking to you, my company is making money. When I go to sleep tonight, people are still parking. So in the solar business that I built, my first entrepreneurial journey, I was only making money 16 hours a day. And in India, the plants would come alive, plants would come alive, even without full sunshine. You would start generating electricity. That will go on till about 8:30. So I was generating money for about 16 hours. But now I have built a business that I'm generating money 24 hours. So that's something that you have to put into your repertoire. When you're building a business, think about these facets. And last, I will tell you that, hey, if I can be of any help to any of you in making your dreams a reality, Shayantun, Rajdeep, Shahali, they all have my phone number. They'll be happy to give it to you. And please text me, call me. Especially, I love to help Bangalis because there are so many of us that are doing so well in this country in so many fields. And I think it's all about the roots. It's all about our Bangaliana. And that has played a very, very important role to what little success I've achieved.
That is fascinating, Saurav. And how I can judge that is because my son is sitting next to me and he just made a comment that in this last few minutes, he at least gave me 30 life lessons that I can actually take back with me. So that speaks volumes, and he's 13-year-old, and so I'm sure most of our audience would resonate with that. Having said that, I have one request. You talked
Sure,
about Allison, and I think I heard Allison also in the background once. So why don't we see Allison also in the screen if she can just come and join you?
sure. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
My wife and my business partner, we are both entrepreneurs, and we started the solar venture and the renewable venture together, and also our parking venture. So yeah, we are fellow entrepreneurs. We are parents to four of our children. Three of you see in the screen: Julia, our eldest, Alexandra, and Christian, our twins. And say hello. And then Isaac, who you can probably hear but can't see. So
I think we could see Isaac for
yeah, before, yeah,
5 minutes
yeah,
virtually.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, Saurabh, the one question. So, I mean, you have been through different domains in your life, right? You started in your graduation, formal education was in life sciences.
Yeah.
Then you were in the hospitality industry. Then
Hmm.
you were in Wall Street, then
Hmm.
solar entrepreneurship, and finally parking.
Hmm.
One basic question I have and curiosity, so to say, is that to build any, say, venture that you want to invest in, is it necessary for you to have prior knowledge in the domain, or you
I
can?
didn't. I didn't. I didn't. I didn't know anything about hospitality. I didn't know how. I didn't even know how to read a balance sheet till I went to marriage school management. You know, um, then Wall Street finance was very, very different than running a hospitality company. So no, I always was very curious, and I thought one thing that I really realized very quickly on is that our my formative years in Don Bosco was crucial, and that whether it's Don Bosco or any other school, one thing that I realized, and when I look at my batchmates, is that we had a good education. We had a very good education in Bengal, you know, and I never have felt that I cannot compete in that arena. I cannot compete in that caliber. I never have felt that. However, one has to always focus on increasing your knowledge base. And that's why you must surround yourself with people who are smarter than you are. Because you for me, I have been a kind of sieve. It's osmosis. I've taken knowledge and wisdom in from people around me. And that's how I learn. And I ask people, hey, what are you watching? What are you reading? I ask that from people. And I don't have much time to read, so I ask people, so why do you like that book? What did that book teach you? And so, my learning, like I say, I have a PhD in street life. The street has taught me a lot, and I'm a very curious person. And I try to hang with people who are like myself, curious, kind, compassionate, and giving. It's all about collaboration. And what today Alice and I do today is we collaborate. I mean, as an entrepreneur, that's what we do.
You have to make yourself an expert. And I mean, even parking, look, we understand the business pretty well, but our partner Jerry has 40 plus years in the business, and there's no way that we could ever understand the way he understands. But we make ourselves as much of an expert as we can, and for the gap that's there, you have to find a way to fill in the mind share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have multiple questions from different people. I mean,
Please.
I'll start with one of our ex-students. As I was saying, he's sitting next to me. He has a couple of questions. So we will start with Ribhu. Then we have questions from Shoheli. We have a question from Rajdeep. If anyone else you have any questions, feel free to just ping me and we will take it. So I'll start with Ribhu. Why don't you come on the camera?
Hi, Ribu.
Hi, nice to meet you. Uh, by the way, honored to getting to meet you just on the meeting. So
Thank you. Congratulations on getting into a great school.
Thank you.
We're all very proud of you.
Took some effort, but
it always does, you know?
It should.
So one of my questions were, so one of the reasons I pulled out of my previous school was a lot to do with racism, a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of my questions is, how does the overall racial profiling of Indians and people from the subcontinental area affect the competition in any business industry?
Sourabh, just one thing. Why don't you just give the second question also so that he can answer
Okay.
both of them? Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one was, I today, how would you reflect on your journey today from where you are, from when you started from the very foundation to where you are now, of course, and what mistakes or successes would you advise, future aspiring entrepreneurs or business owners to build on?
Okay. To your first question, I think that us Indians today, where we are in 2025, is a very different place from where I started in 1991 in this country. Was there racism in 1991? Yes, there was. But you have to think beyond that. And when I got promoted to a very senior rank and file in First Investors, I remember a lot of people came to me and said, I refuse to work for you. Why? Because you're not white. And there was no Me Too movements there then. It was a very, what we call bushwackle Wall Street, or swashbuckle Wall Street, right? And I had to prove my mettle through my numbers. And the way I did it, it was that, in this very wide firm, I was the #2 top producer in my second year. And for my third year till I left, I was the #1 producer. So I was bringing in more money over anybody else for that firm and running the firm at the same time. So when they came to lecture me about business, I said, okay, wait a minute. Where are you in the pole position again? Oh, you're not in the top 10. So please, once you get there, then come talk to me about how to run my business. So, at the end of the day, if you're going to do business, it's very cut and dry. It's about the numbers. Either you're running a profitable operation or you're running a loss-making operation. And there will be no enthusiasm left for a loss-making operation. So don't build castle in the clouds. Think about it, think about kick every tire. You are essentially getting into a F1 car. But before you get into the real car, you got to train yourself in simulators, So expose yourself to different situations, to different people, and take life in small bites, though the goal has to be to eat the whole slice. Take life in small bites, though the goal has to be to eat the whole slice. You won't get the whole pizza. That's the whole world. You will get your slice, right? But also, don't make what I see that bothers me, and I don't want to sound controversial, but I also want to be honest. I see this new generation of young aspirants coming in, but I see them trying to use this quota system, this gender quota, right? I just think, look, I came to this country, and this country I love because this country is one of the few countries, it's true meritocracy. And to me, the companies that I build, the boards that I sit in, it's all about meritocracy. I don't care if you're brown, white, orange, yellow, green, I don't care. Where do you fit in? What role are you going to play to get my engine to go from a V8 to a V9 to a V10 to a V11 to a V12? It's about that oomph. Are you adding to my oomph or you're not? If you're not, let's just stay friends. So don't let race or color, and today I think the overall workforce is probably threatened by us Indians. I often hear this conjecture that, oh, you Indians are taking over our jobs. Hardly, I mean, yes, we run a lot more as Indians and Bengalis than we ran 25 years ago. That's for sure. And I am very proud of that. I'm very proud of the contribution that each one of us have made to defining the fabric in which we're going to help our children grow up. We are defining this country, the United States of America. We are bringing our diversity, our knowledge, our experiences, our heritage. And each one of us in this call is making a difference. And you have to believe that. I mean, the good Lord has not put you here just to eat, sleep, enjoy. My children think that. But I believe the good Lord has put us here to contribute. Ribu, you have to think about, how will I contribute? What am I going to do to give? Once you figure that out, how are you going to give? The rest will come. Does it answer your question, or did I not answer your question?
I think
it answers it pretty comprehensively. Thank you.
Okay.
And I think that, yeah, sorry.
Just about the racism thing, because I have an interesting perspective because I'm white, and I see Sourabh navigate all of these scenarios where he's the only not white person in the room. I'm even thinking through our investor stack right now. I don't think we have any investors that are not white. So my perspective on it, for the most part, and there's always some bad actors that you can never please, but I think people are just, what is racism? I think it's fear. I think it's ignorance. I think it's maybe even a little degree, a bit of nervousness, because maybe white people have not interacted with Indian people as much. But Sourabh, I mean, everybody loves Sourabh, no matter what. And I almost think he has a sense for which person in this room is most nervous to interact with a brown guy, and he goes right for them. And by the end of the night, they're friends. So it's almost just like crossing that divide and you being the more brave one, because most people are cowards, right?
Yeah, it's about reaching out and offering your hand first before they offer your hand to you,
Yeah, and just kind of diffusing that unknown, and most people warm up pretty quickly.
But I also think that one thing that I have seen and I have learned is that I have been very fortunate to meet a lot of successful people. Bar a very, very, very few. Most of them are down to earth and humble. And I think that's a very, very important trait. The more you are successful, the more you need to be well grounded. Nobody likes a snob, you know. And the other thing is that, you know, one thing I always enjoy is understanding, you know, the other person's story. You know, like till that event at Ornob's Solarium, Rajdeep and I did not get to connect, and I did not know that Rajdeep was also my fraternal brother, and we both been to Don Bosco, right? So it's that conversation that brought out, right? So you have to be interested in understanding the other person's story before we often try to fill the room with আমি এই করেছি সেই করেছি আমি একে চিনি আমি তাকে চিনি আমি ওখানে গেছি. That's great, you know. You will find your life much more enriching because there are so many fascinating stories that I hear, you know. But I tend to pick and choose the people I surround myself with, regardless of race, color, whatever, you know, what they do, you know. So
That's great. And Alison, thanks for pitching in. I mean, that is such a great advice and a tangible thing that we can do, that it's a nice strategy to basically diffuse the situation, that get to know the other person and try to put yourself on their shoes, right? So thanks a lot for that. There was one more question, Shourav, that sitting where you are sitting today, if you look back at your journey here, are there things probably that you would do differently from what you did?
yeah,
So I think that's what you meant, right? In
Yeah.
your second
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would. I was not always careful enough and picky enough to pick my business partners, and you know, I trusted people too much without verifying. You know, I let my heart do the thinking, and not my head. And you know, I was duped by my business partner, who was very unscrupulous, but who I trusted, who I thought, hey, this is my brother, you know. So, you know, it's very, very important that you trust, but you verify. And you have your people in the inner core that is keeping your eyes and ears open, you know. And I didn't have that before. I said, oh, okay, Allison has that person, you know, Shandan has that person. I didn't have somebody in every place keeping an eye out and watching it. You know, in life, whether it's high finance or high corporate, what I call C-suite. C-suite is you are really swimming with the sharks, right? And you really have no friends because it's all kind of business. It's coupled with profits, right? So in a situation like that, you always have to watch your six. If you can watch your six and watch your back, then you're going to have people watch your six. And that's where I made a mistake. I didn't have people watching my six. I just trusted that my six is fine. And that's where I got, you know.
And it's always people that are close to you.
Yeah.
That have been in your home, that know your family. You just can't assume that everybody has the same ethics that you do. It's okay to operate that way, but there has to be checks and balances where you're making sure that you're protected.
Because unfortunately, what I have learned is for most people, greed takes over. You know, greed takes over. And you know, you can't let greed take over. You got to think about, hey, is this the right thing? And if you're with people who don't really believe that it's about doing the right thing always, not like, oh, we do the right thing 90% of the time, 10% we kind of do, you know, great. No. We do the right thing always. And that kind of unscrupulous commitment to being honest is rare to find.
Yeah, that's great again. So I will go to our next question. So Shohili, why don't you ask your question?
Hi, Sourabh.
Hi, Shohili, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
It was
Great
so
to see you.
nice to hear from you, right? Like I concur with Ribhu, that whatever you just spoke, right, like for the last 1 year, 1 hour or so, it aligns with my life principles and so much learning from there. I just want to highlight one thing that you have pointed out, that surround yourself with smart people. Now, it's not a simple thing because when you have a ego, you think, right, you are the smartest one. So identifying the smart people is something that is some very kind, I would say, right, like main thing, and collaboration. I would like to highlight with everything that you have said.
Yes.
Then you said, right, like you need to validate and do not trust. So that actually answers the question that I had. The second question, I would go to spaces, right? You started saying that you brought in technology in spaces and AI, all that. Now, I know that in business, right, like you have to be progressive, right? And when you started spaces, there may not be that much implementation of technology that you have right now, but people are apprehensive to adjust with the technology or implementation of the technology. So how do you kind of overcome those apprehensions of the people? Because I also feel that same way where I work. I mean, implementing new technology, they think that will take away the job. The technology will not do the things the right way away with the human acumen. So how do you kind of work that it changes the mindset of the people?
Well, it's a great question. I use the tool that I just told you to forsake to make my way in to my constituents, my clients. Who are my clients? So our clients in spaces are big real estate owners. CBRE, JLL, Vornado, all of the big Tishman Spear, Rock Center. So, all the big real estate groups are our customers. And the language that I speak to them is simply money. I tell them, look, don't think of spaces as a technology. That's not the question I go in with. When I sit down with the CEO of any company, I ask them one simple question: how's your business? And they say, okay. If they're honest, they will say it's terrible. And look, today we deal with about 32 real estate developers and owners across the country, all the big ones. So we have a sense. We know how many people are coming into work, who's paying rent, who's not paying rent. Overall, the real estate market is in trouble. So the first question I ask is, how is your business? And if they say, yeah, it's not doing that great, wonderful. If they're lying, they will say, it's doing fantastic. And right there, I know that I don't have a client because he's a liar. Nobody's doing fantastic. And then I ask a second question to make sure that are they honest or are they not honest? I ask the same question. Do you think it can be better? Absolutely. The guy who said the business is fantastic, do you think it can be better? No, I'm okay. Great. Thank you. Nice meeting you. Cross that name off the list. Because he's not in my league. He's not on my level. So you have to be very picky and choosy who you let in. It's a very personal decision who you let in. And you have to be extremely careful, because if you let in the wrong person, they're going to waste your time. Time is something you don't have. Time equals money. When you're an entrepreneur, you got to think about one thing. This goes to my Wall Street days. I'm a top producer. I'm the youngest executive vice president of the white shoe firm. I'm flying high. One day, I am coming down the elevator at 95 Wall Street, which is the headquarters, with my chairman, Glenn Head. And he goes to me, hey, Sourabh, I'm glad I ran into you. I go, what's up, Glenn? Because I'm just like, golden-eyed boy, right? I'm bringing in the mullahs for this guy, right? This guy, company's on fire. He doesn't know what to do with me, right? I'm growing his business beyond his wildest dreams. So he says to me, self-made billionaire, grew up in Iowa, son of a corn farmer, started as an actuary, bought the firm. So I know so many self-made billionaires. I can tell you stories after stories after stories. Right? So each of us, if we put our mind to it, we can be billionaires. If that's what your passion is. Mine is not. Mine is not. So he says to me, he goes, I was looking at my key card registry. And I said, looking at the key card registry, Glenn? Really? Are you that bored? And he goes, no, I was looking at the key card registry. And funny enough, I never see you in on Saturdays and Sundays. I go, Glenn, are you kidding me, really? Like, I'm the number one guy. The number two guy is like 200% behind me. What are you talking about? He's like, no. I'm just wondering, what do you do on the weekends? I'm like, well, I cook, I clean, I do my chores, I do laundry. And he goes, how much do you make an hour, Sourabh? And I go, what? He goes, at my office, 5:30 a.m. Monday with that number. All weekend, I thought about how much I make an hour. So I came up with a number. Let's say, I'll call it $100. It was not, it's more than that. So I told Glenn, it's number. And he said, for your chores, for your house cleaning, for this, for that, if you put in 3 hours on, Saturday, then go out and party or do what you got to do. Sunday, you come in, take a client out to lunch, maybe to a nice place, and then do a few more hours of work. You can pay for a month, a year worth of, for one weekend, you can pay a year worth of maid services and cleaning services and shoppers and everything for you. So that's when I realized that time utilization of money. We don't ask ourselves, what am I worth? What is my time worth? What am I worth? Right? And once you realize every hour of when I look at myself, every hour of my day is worth at least $2,500. So I have to be very careful who I spend that hour with, because either I'm making that $2,500 an hour or I'm not. So time value of money is very, very important. And hence, you can only make sure that you are perfecting this if you're walking the journey with the right people. And principles and morals are very important. D'accord? Intelligence is important. I'm not arguing with that. But morals, ethics, integrity are very, very key. We meet a lot of people, we interview people, we interview partners. And if we see that the integrity and morals and ethics are not there, I don't care how many hundreds of millions that person, that company can make me, we walk away. Because to Ribhu's question earlier, I made those mistakes. I partnered with wrong people and I totally got shellacked, right? So you have to be very careful. Those little things matter.
Thank you, Sourabh, the analysis.
In the interest of time, we will take one last question, and I left it for the last because the question is from the host of our session today, who is our principal of Korok Bangla Shikshalaya. Rajdeep, over to you.
Sourabh and Alice, of you, it's such an inspiration to have you here, and I'm myself honored to be a brother of Sourabh in some way. Very pleasantly discovered that on Arnab's party.
Yes.
But just come into my my question. Like, first, I just want to make a comment. Like Ribhu started with a thing, right? How was it? Like, what kind of sort of vindictiveness you encountered when you came into this country in 1991? So for us Indians, like Shanton, me, Shoheli, Shomo, and other folks here, I just want to tell you and thank you. I think we stand on the shoulder of giants. It was giants like yourself who have made a name for Indians in this country. And we truly need to acknowledge that. We are where we are because you were there before us.
Thank you.
So with that, I just want to ask you a question. I mean, some very nice questions have been asked. So like when in the lowest point in your life, right? You have gone through a lot. In the lowest point of your life, what do you tell yourself to pick yourself up? I mean, it's open to Allison as well. I mean, as entrepreneurs, you have gone through hell, but
We have gone through hell, yeah.
There must be something that inspires and tells you, okay, no, you got to get up. You got to go on.
I mean, I think you know, for us, for Allison and I, when we were in 2016, the lowest point of our life, you know, we had Julia, who was 6 years old, and we had Christian and Alex, and they were 3 years old, right? So we had to keep going. We just couldn't give up. It was just not Allison and I, you know. So I think it's our children, you know, that we had to keep going for. We couldn't give up because we have these 3 kids, right? But also that, you know, it was not easy, but I'm glad that Allison and I were co-entrepreneurs. So we were kind of, we knew everything. We were going through this pain together. I was not shouldering it, or she was not shouldering it by ourselves. We were shouldering it together. And we were fortunate that we had friends and family who supported us, you know, who took care of us, who loaned us money. Let me be very blunt and very frank, right? They wrote checks and not knowing if we can ever pay them back or not. That's sheer faith and belief.
Yeah, and I think at our lowest point, and we say it to each other too, if it were easy, everybody would do it. And at those hardest moments of despair, we would say, you know, this is it. This is the moment where people either give up or they keep going, and that's the difference. So we keep going.
Yeah. You have to keep going, you know. You have to keep going. You can't stop. But you also got to take your failures with stride as you do your successes. Because one thing I really believe in, the more no's you get, the closer you're getting to the yeses.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
So that's what I believe.
It is, we are right, actually 3 minutes past 12. So it has been such a fascinating session, Sourabh, and I think I can take the liberty of taking, I mean, kind of the consent of all of my Korok board members, fellow board members, and Korok members, that conveying to you that we are so fortunate to have you, Alison, Julia, Christian, Alex, and Isaac with us. And for other members, Christian, you can unmute yourself and clap. We want to hear that.
Yeah.
Hey, Shantan, I have a question. I have a question from my sister, my cousin, Tista Sengupta from Houston. It says, she's asking, many young people need advice and are looking for a mentor. Sometimes they feel unsure or intimidated and don't know how to ask for it. What's a good first step to reach out to someone like you?
Like whom?
Like me.
Okay. Yeah. So why
She's
don't
asking,
you go ahead and answer?
how does one reach out?
Yeah.
I think it's the power of us. You know, it's the power of us. It's not power of me. It's not power of I. I has no power. Me have no power. Us, we have power. So it's about making sure that you're going to the right industry meets, making sure that you're going to if you have a certain interest, a certain sector, do your research into finding the right symposiums, the right talks. And these talks often have a soiree after. You can meet people, but make yourself distinct. Remember, you have one chance and one chance only to impress. Don't miss that chance. Don't go unprepared. Don't go into a situation without knowing, hey, what do I want to achieve? When Alison and I go to meetings, to soirees, to dinners, hey, we talk, what are the achievables here tonight? What are we trying to achieve here? And we talk, we drink, we eat, but we are there for a reason. You are there for a reason. Be very, very sure you know what you're wanting. What are you asking? What is the ask? People meet me and they say, I say, what can I do for you? How can I help you? I don't know. Is there something you have for me? That's the wrong approach. The approach should be, Sourabh, I'm doing this. Do you think you can help? How can you help? You know? And it could be that I can't help you, but I might know somebody who will be of great value to you. Right? It's going back to the network. But make sure that you are building the network and you're contributing to the network. Like what you all have done at Korok, right? The Poila Boishakh festivities. It was amazing. It was a sheer testament to hard and sincere teamwork. Hard and sincere teamwork. Not only did you have a vision, you had a vision, and the vision was big, but you executed it to the T. Execution is the very, very important thing. And for execution, one needs to plan with a calm, cool head. And then go to people who you trust, people who you respect. Say, hey, Shantan, আমি এটা ভাবছি, তোমার কি মনে হয়? Rajdeep, আমি এটা ভাবছি, তোমার কি মনে হয়? Soheli, আমি ভাব. So create a songo. Create a songo that you can approach without any fear, without any shame. লজ্জা শরম কিচ্ছু নয়। আজকে সায়ন্তনকে আমি আমার মনটা বলতে পারি, okay, Sayantan is Chandannagara, so and we are also related, so that's a different. But with all of you, you have made me, Allison, and our family welcome, and you guys are doing something very, very important. It is about heritage, and I am honored that you have invited me to such an august forum to talk and share my life stories of my successes and my failures, and invited my partner and my wife, Allison. We remain grateful. Namaskar. Thank you.
I mean, it is all, the pleasure is all ours, Sourabh. It has been such a pleasure to know all of you. And to our other members who couldn't probably ask questions today to Sourabh and Alison, they both try their best to be present in the events that we organize. In fact, our end of year celebration also, they were planning to attend, but Sourabh got stuck in Texas, so that's why they couldn't attend. And whenever you get a chance, you can always catch up with Sourabh and ask your questions later. Just one thing, if I do not clarify it, I think I will not do my job as a Chandan Nagorian. Sourabh, the one thing that you said, I could see some people chuckling in the screen when you said Kolkata was like a dream and everything, because I know you gave fodder to some people who would come back to me and say these things. We Chandan Nagorians are very proud of Chandan Nagar, and we don't care much about Kolkata. Just like people dream about Mars, we also
I
sometimes
can
dream about
unmute.
সত্যি কথা সৌরভ দা বলে দিয়েছে, সত্যি কথা সৌরভ দা বলে দিয়েছে।
Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.
And
you.
it was such a great time, Sourabh Allison.
Thank
Thanks
you
a
all so
lot.
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank
Thank you so
Back
much.
with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.